Welcome back to 7th Grade Mustache. On today's episode, we'll be speaking about the NEGRO experiment. The transcontinental slave trade was started by the Portuguese in the early 1400s. The introduction of slavery to North America was the beginning of an experiment on the Negro population. Long before the term eugenics was coined, social experiments within a segregated population caught the attention of the group's oppressors. Fast forward to the Prince Hall Lodge of Masonry that was founded on March the 6th, 1775. Prince Hall and several other black soldiers had petitioned a Irish Masonic lodge for membership, and they had been turned down. Prince Hall then took it upon himself to petition other Masonry lodges until he got accepted, and that charter was sent over on a boat. This boat was in the harbor of Boston, and black Masons boarded the ship, and they began tossing containers of tea into the harbor, and this is what became known as the Boston Tea Party. This is the true history of the Boston Tea Party, but it is not the Boston Tea Party that you are taught in schools. But what Prince Hall Masonry began is a institution of Negroes that were the advisor to the king. They were the progenitors of what will become the Boule in the early 1900s in America. All throughout slavery in America, there has been the Negro that is willing to stab other Negroes in the back, to act as a traitor to their own benefit, to their own safety. And these house Negroes were not always the Negroes that worked in the house. Sometimes they were field Negroes who loved their masters more than they loved their own freedom. And this mentality, this house Negro mentality, has remained intact since the beginning of slavery, through the ending of slavery, through the Jim Crow era, into modern times today. This has manifested in gatekeepers within the black community who are wealthy and have status in American society. And they want to maintain that status. So they work with intelligence agencies, the United States government, music producers, captains of industry, being the record label, the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, to control other Negroes. And you see this in film and television. So the reason why we're talking about film and television is because those are the fireside chats. Turn that notification off, man, because it's going to keep buzzing like that.
It's not, it's not even on, but.
Yeah, just turn the notifications off, dude. Anyway, so the military industrial complex, the entertainment industrial complex, the funeral industrial complex, all of these industries they have house Negroes in them. And you can call them Boule, you can call them house Negroes, but they're traitors. They're traitors to their race and culture. And they maintain a image, a psychological warfare, an overlay that is placed on the black population. When you look at the image in media, in film and television of the Negro in America, all of the stories are focused on slavery. There's this endless barrage of movies about slavery and songs, and everything is about slavery, and how there was nothing that happened, that blacks didn't do anything before slavery. And so because see, this narrative, it suits the oppressor. It does not suit the oppressed. So then what you have is a false narrative that is taught to people. And if you teach people this and you give them this false identity that they've never been anything greater than a slave, and their history doesn't go beyond that, then you can control the growth of those people, hence the Negro experiment in America. So Alex Haley was known for his novel Roots. But before he published Roots, he was a writer for Playboy magazine. And the Playboy article that got him the most notoriety was the article that he wrote for Hugh Hefner in his previous magazine about the music industry. And it was an article with Miles Davis. And it took about 3 years for this article to get published because the other magazine had folded before the article could be completed. And so he published this interview with Miles Davis. And Miles Davis is a straight shooting, candid type of person. And this article in Playboy magazine got the attention of all these white men that love jazz music. And so jazz aficionados read this in Playboy and they thought it was great. So then this got more work for Alex Haley, who then went on to interview Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Now, his interview with Martin Luther King cast a negative light on Malcolm X. It turns out that because of Operation Mockingbird and the control that intelligence agencies had over media, they doctored the interview. And they cast this us versus them mentality between this set of Negroes being MLK and that set of Negroes being Malcolm X. Peaceful, nonviolent, and violent. And so they wanted to maintain this schism between black people. This is artificial. This is artificially created because people would have you think everybody in the North was about Malcolm X. Everybody in the South was about Martin Luther King. That is not the case. That is a narrative that has been pushed. But Malcolm X, hold on, in the autobiography of Malcolm X, in the beginning, Haley issues an apology to Malcolm X.
He issues an apology to the readers, and you're like, what? What is he apologizing for? Yeah, that's some deep shit. Go ahead. I was going to interject some shit about the whole Prince Hall thing to give people context. But go ahead and finish with your thoughts about Haley.
So people don't realize that Alex Haley spent 20 years in the United States Coast Guard, and he was a veteran of World War II. And he actually had ties to intelligence agencies. And because of that, he is part of the reason why some of these people were following Malcolm X around. And go ahead and talk about the apology that he issued to the readers.
The apology is in the autobiography of Malcolm X, and it's kind of weird because it's in the foreword. And the person that really brought it to our attention is one of our favorite black historians, Steve Coakley. And what it does is it's in a weird spot, and you're like, what is he apologizing for? And when you do your research, when Malcolm was abroad, he was approached by the CIA, and so Malcolm's like, I don't know who told the CIA about my whereabouts and about my activities, and of course he assumed it was the Muslims because they had an improper relationship with white folks. But when you read the autobiography of Malcolm X and you that foreword and you see this supposed great writer apologize, he's apologizing for that. And this is where we talk about, Roscoe was talking about Prince Hall, but you gotta talk about the boule. And you talk about the boule, which is a French word. We have
covered an entire episode about the boule. If you want to know more about the boule, go back and listen to the earlier episodes. We're not going to rehash that right now. It's the boule, y'all. Go look this shit up.
No. What I was going to say is that there's also a lot of history that. So I went to a black university, of course, and there was a bunch of Prince Halls on campus, and they were the same stories. They would tell you certain stories, and then you're like, okay, is this true? Is this not? They say the Boston Tea Party wasn't what we were taught, and that's what you were summarizing. In fact, what the Black Masons told me, the Prince Hall's like, yeah, our charter was on one of those boats. And in fact, the people that dressed up as Indians weren't the black folks; it was the white folks trying to find their charter, and they did the wrong boat. Our charter was on a different boat. They also tell you stories like Crispus Attucks, the first black man that allegedly was killed. Was a Mason. Now, according to them, the Prince Hall lodge hadn't started yet, but they like to claim him and say that he would have been stuff like that. So they have a whole history that they're using to. I don't want to. And here's a problem. I don't want to say that they're redefining history because white folks have been doing that for years. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of black folks that
That would
are not
like
on
to
your side.
redefine history also.
Yes, yeah. And so that's why this gatekeeping is such a deep thing because, like I said, the same complaint that you have about that Kanye and all these people are complaining, there's Jews in Hollywood. Dave Chappelle brings it up, there's Jews in Hollywood. Well, there's black folks also that are gatekeepers. And you can't enter these industries where there's politics, entertainment. You name two or three other things that were really profound. Athletics, there's usually a gatekeeper there, but they're usually these Prince Hall Masons or they're Boule, whatever you want to call them. But yeah, that's the whole problem. And people, it's frustrating because people are like, oh yeah, they're good, they're this, and I'm like, nobody should be a governor to my success or my ability to govern myself. Nobody should be sitting there like, you can't do this, you can't do that. So
But
that's
that is what happens when you take an oath. In the Bible, it tells you, Jesus says, do not take an oath. Anytime you take an oath, it is a spell that binds you to a group, to an organization, to a deity. And these oaths, you see them within the law enforcement agencies, you see them within the military, you see them in the strawman legal courts of America, you see them in gangs. When you pledge your allegiance to the gangs and you let them jump you into the gang, or you go and commit and spill blood on behalf of the gangs. You see this all the time. You see it in magic rituals. And all of these people who want entry into the upper echelon of whatever industry they're in, they're willing to practice or perform rituals. Now, Marion Suge Knight played college football at a junior college, El Camino College, and transferred and played the final 2 years of college at UNLV. He was not drafted in the 1987 NFL Draft. He tried out for the Los Angeles Rams and was cut from the team during practice, but was eventually brought back as a backup player for 2 games. Suge Knight's introduction to the music business came from working as a party promoter and bodyguard for artists like Bobby Brown in 1989. Yep. He quickly gained a reputation for using intimidation practices, including hiring gang members and police officers to use aggressive and threatening behavior to get what he wanted in business deals. But what a lot of people don't understand is he was having gang members apply to the LAPD and the sheriff's departments of Los Angeles County and then integrate these blood gang members into the police department. So then they were loyal to the police. Now, people think, oh, that's crazy. Them black folks are doing some crazy shit. No, because at the same time, you had devil worshippers and neo-Nazis doing the same exact thing. So it's just gangs upon gangs inside the umbrella of one gang called the police. Of the earliest accounts, this involved the rapper Vanilla Ice, where Suge Knight hung Vanilla Ice over the balcony by his ankles to force him to sign over the royalties of his music publishing. He also threatened Eazy-E of NWA with baseball bats and lead pipes to make him release Dr. Dre from Ruthless Records, which Eazy-E owned. Suge Knight made his affiliation with the Blood Gang apparent. His record label, Death Row Records, had recording studios and offices decked out in red carpets and red paint on the walls. He also confirmed his affiliation publicly over the years. Now, what you got to understand, what people don't talk about, is there is a dark arts element to all of this. By having this red everywhere, the lawyers, the publishers, the vendors that he would deal with were often people who worshiped the dark arts. And he dealt in murder. Murder was part of his stock and trade. So therefore, to sacrifice people was nothing. They loved this. They had their house Negro who would go and sacrifice people and get the blood that these dark arts worshipers needed in the music industry. Now, William Ray Norwood Jr. was born in Macomb, Mississippi, but was raised in Carson, California when his parents moved there in the 1980s. While he spent his teenage years alongside his pop star sister Brandy, he says that he began to hang with the Bloods gang to build up his street cred. Now, this is where things get very interesting. In 2007, the Kim Kardashian sex tape was sold to a porn company called Vivid Entertainment. The sex tape was sold by Kim's mother, Kris Jenner. The sex tape showed Kim and Ray J having sex. That sounds normal, right? Sure. But rewind the tape back to 1999. September of 1999. Sean Puffy Combs is shooting a new reality TV show in Orlando, Florida. The show is called Making the Band. In one scene in the first episode, Ray J is seen sitting next to Sean Puffy Combs. Okay, that sounds normal. But you hear the darndest things from people that work for these wealthy people, that work very close to these wealthy people, such as housekeepers and limousine drivers. In 2001, one such conversation happened in a limousine between a passenger and the driver in Los Angeles. Several interesting facts were revealed about Ray J. The limousine driver said he picked Ray J up at a home in Los Angeles and noticed that Ray J was wearing a black robe and was naked underneath. The driver delivered him to a house in the Hollywood Hills that belonged to Sean Puffy Combs. The driver said he opened the door for Ray J, who then stepped out wearing a black robe with nothing underneath. He took a black rose, put it in between his teeth, and walked to the front door that was opened by Sean Puffy Combs. If you ever hear of the Black Rose Mafia, those are a few of their trademarks. The Kim Kardashian sex tape was made to create a diversion from the gay affair between Sean Puffy Combs and Ray J. Now, in the news, as of this week, in March 2024, there's all types of headlines about how Sean Puffy Combs is having gay affairs with young producers at his studios and having these young boys do things for him and trading sexual favors. So that now when you go back to 2020 or 1999 and you hear about him showing up at Sean Puffy Combs' house wearing nothing except for a black robe and a black rose in his teeth, man, that's gay mafia right there. Now listen, you got to be wondering, well, how does that connect to Suge Knight? Because in 2018, Suge Knight was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 28 years in prison after running over two men at a fast food drive-thru in 2015. Fast forward to October 21st, 2019, TMZ runs a news story stating Suge Marion Knight has signed over his life rights to William Ray Norwood Jr. Wow, what a coincidence, considering that Suge Knight and Sean Puffy Combs were supposed to be enemies in this whole 1990s East Coast versus West Coast artificial beef. The entire thing at the Source Awards in 1995 was fake. All of it was fake. All of it was created by the music and prison industrial complex to create violence and make money, because you wanted to create an atmosphere where you had black men committing crime, which would then send them through the police, which would then send them to the prison industrial complex. It was a pipeline of money, of slavery, with house Negroes all at the top of this pipeline, controlling the flow of Negroes to prison. This is just like what the Spaniards saw when they got to Mexico and atop the pyramid, they saw these Aztecs sacrificing hundreds or thousands of people. It is no different. It is dark arts. It is the house, Negro, prison, industrial, music, industrial complex. And it goes all the way back to the founding of this country with slavery. Did you have something you want to add to that?
Definitely. When it comes to the whole Suge Knight thing and this manufactured beef with him and Puffy, it was a legitimate beef. It was not too big that money couldn't cure it. The way it started back in the 90s, everybody thinks it was the person who started it outright was Cube. And Cube's beef was, he's like, look, I have a problem. Everywhere, when I'm in California, they play everybody's hip hop. But when I go to West Coast, they only play West Coast. They don't play down South. They don't play this. So Cube said, well, I'm coming out. And he came out with a song, Throw Your Neighborhood in the Air. It came out on the Friday soundtrack. But that's when it started. It was conscious. But then
No. It was before that, because the whole reason why he made the America's Most Wanted album in 1991 was that he wanted to bring the East Coast and the West Coast together. So his entire album was produced by Hank Shockley,
yes,
an East Coast producer that created a sound that became the signature of Public Enemy. So then he had the producer of Public Enemy, East Coast sound, with a West Coast rapper over the top of it, and it is probably, I'm going to say, in the top 3 greatest hip-hop albums of all time. In the top 3.
But hold on, Roscoe. There's a point I'm making. At that time, it wasn't that prevalent. It wasn't. They didn't call it out because the whole problem was Ice Cube was pretty much shunned on the West Coast because those West Coast rappers were like, look, you broke up NWA, you're dissing them. So he flipped the script and went all the way East Coast and had one of the best producers.
No, you're wrong about that. Cube still had plenty of love on the West Coast.
I didn't say, no, that's not what I said. What I'm saying is that he made a conscious decision.
You said he was shunned. He wasn't, listen, that whole thing was artificial. If you look at the people that he was down with, still, after he left NWA, it was a lot of motherfucking West Coast dudes, man. So and half the dudes in the Bay Area that wasn't even caught up in the LA bullshit. So what you say isn't true, man. But this the point. This the point. So the point is that this music that Ice Cube created was not like the other West Coast rap music. It was like the painting that you see of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King together shaking hands. It was one of those things that you always wanted to happen, but it never happened. But this time it happened. What you got to understand about me, I was DJing at that time. So I had all this music. And I would go in and out of gang neighborhoods. I would go in and out of hip-hop head backpacker parties and shit. I was going between all these different vibes and like scenes and shit. So I could see what people were listening to. And I was traveling all around the U.S. And so I could see firsthand who was listening to what. Everybody was rocking Ice Cube. Everybody. My perspective is different. So what I'm seeing is that what was going on was still a push. So it was like Ice Cube's music was basically saying that, oh, okay, y'all are being influenced by these intelligence agencies and the prison industrial complex. He's like, all right, cool. My music still has some of that, but I'm going to put some consciousness into my music, because America's Most Wanted was his slow. It was right before he jumped into consciousness and before the Nation of Islam started to influence his sound. Because Death Certificate, the next album was Death Certificate. And Death Certificate was definitely 100% influenced by Muslim ideology. While you got to understand, all of this is happening so very fast. Like the way things happen super fast right now with social media, everything was happening super lightning fast in pop culture, especially with underground music. Because hip-hop was still underground at that point, and it was at the edge of crossing over into mainstream. It was when Yo MTV Raps was the only rap show on MTV, you were starting to see Ice Cube's videos played outside of that rotation, that is that 1 hour block of Yo MTV Raps every week. It began to get played throughout the week. Ice Cube would get shuffled into the top 10. And actually, MC Hammer and Jazzy Jeff were the ones that opened the door for people like Ice Cube, because Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff, they won a Grammy. And everybody was all like, man, fuck the Grammys, fuck the Grammys. I don't give a fuck about the Grammys. So the whole point is that Jazzy Jeff and them opened the door for the underground to get crossed over into the mainstream. Now, this sounds like an organic process. It is not.
Ah, beautiful.
This is not an organic process. This entire process is not organic. This entire process was done to bring about the prison industrialist influence over music. But you couldn't have these hard motherfuckers kicking down the door. You had to have the pop crossover music, which did not have street respect, but it had overall general respect from black people. So then this came in, and white people loved it, and it opened the door for like, we want some more music. Okay, well, the music's changing now. And now we're going to bring about this hard sound. Murder, 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 kill, kill, kill. And then you get these movies 2 years later, like Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood opened the door for Menace to Society and South Central. These movies that showed gang violence, and everything is about like, oh, you got to have your hood pass and shit. Man, I will go anywhere I want. I went through all these hoods. I had, Bloods run up on me talking about what you doing over here. Nigga, I come through here all the time. All that whole idea about you got to have a hood pass, that's some Hollywood shit. You know what I'm saying? You hear people now talking about like people got to check in when they come to a city. That's for suckers. That is for suckers. Real niggas don't check in with anybody. You just do your thing and you come in, you know what I'm saying? You show love, you bounce. This whole checking in thing, that's for sucker niggas. That's for clowns. That's for people who don't have respect. That's for people who carry themselves like bozos. Go ahead, man.
Okay, you just had a whole hip hop class. Okay, so back up to what I was saying about Cube. When Cube went to the East Coast, he didn't have to go. He chose that. And like you said, what made his that first album so amazing was Khalid Muhammad, the Farrakhan on it. And then he did the Kill at Will, the EP, which was like 3 months later. Blew my fucking mind. I remember being in the cafeteria. But what I was saying is that there were artists that didn't like Cube. King Son. There was a lot of artists that Cube beat on wax, and they were offended by that. He like you said, but Cube. And when you read that Source magazine article, came out, like I remember being in college, Cube said, he's like, look, I'm about to shake this shit up. But he meant musically. Then there was an incident that happened in Atlanta with Puffy. It was Puffy's bodyguard, I think it was Wolf, where he shoots a cousin of Suge Knight. So, like you said, that's when it became like a street beef. And again, when you look at it, then you realize that Puffy and Suge are the same motherfucker. The fact that you went so deep with it when you were explaining Puffy's relationship with Ray J, and you keep hearing these young artists tell you that Ray J is much harder than you think. Ray J is not soft. Ray J is
gayer than you think.
Oh, whoa! A lot of these motherfuckers is gay, but this is that whole gatekeeper thing you were talking about. And what they do is they take advantage of new artists and new people, and they also hold it over your head. You've seen so many of these rappers talk about when it's time to sign their contract, and they got footage of them doing gay shit, and that's what God, you talked about so much, Rob.
Right.
God damn.
But these are humiliation rituals.
Yes, but yes, that's true. But what I'm saying is, I'm giving the example that you give is they're like. Let's look at the Dog Pound, for instance. Now, they're Crips, but they're on a Blood label. And remember when they were going to re-sign they were going to sign with all these other record labels, but all of a sudden they signed back with Death Row, who fucked them over. You're like, why would they do that? That's why. Yeah, I think it's corrupt they have something on, because if you pay attention, Daz was still working with other artists. Daz was still producing. Daz didn't stop. But if you pay attention, when you see Corrupt talking to himself, murmuring, that is what's the word I'm looking for? That's a symptom of a humiliation ritual, but that's also a symptom of somebody being blackmailed, somebody being extorted. You understand? Like I said, you talked about so much, cramming so much in there. I know you remember this. This was on Yo MTV Raps. This is back when Yo wasn't the big thing it is now, towards the end. But I'm gonna see if you remember this. So when Will Smith, when DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince got that Grammy, They interviewed Eric B and Rakim on the set of Friends. It was them and Jodie Watley, and Eric B says, just because you get a Grammy does not make you the best rapper. These are people outside of rap deciding what good rap is. And Eric B was legit with the shit. He was saying, like, that does not make you the best rapper. White folks approving of you does not make you the best rapper. And what he was
But
really saying,
why would he say that then and there to their face? Because he wanted the rest of America that was watching this to understand that there is a narrative.
yes,
And the narrative is these guys are pop. We are not.
look, the narrative that because you get a Grammy, and this was also the other part that came later on, they didn't even present it to the niggas on stage. when DJ Jazzy Jeff, which is Will Smith and his DJ, when they got the award, it was just they showed a picture of them accepting the award, but not the video. It didn't even make the show. Then, but as rap gained steam and everything else, of course, that was a big part of the show. So when you see the disrespect, when you see how humiliating that was, so you understand about the struggle of hip hop, but you got to understand about these boule motherfuckers, these gatekeeper motherfuckers, doing this fucked up shit. They just interviewed Usher, and they asked, what did you learn from Puff Daddy? Now, of course, when we fast forward now, we know that Puff Daddy probably violated him, and Gene Deal explains one of the violations of. I'm sure Gene never witnessed the physical, but he said one time, this is what happened, why I know Puffy is a bad person, and he was a bad person to Usher. And Gene Deal, which is his surviving bodyguard. The other bodyguard, Wolf, is dead. That's the one that allegedly shot Suge's cousin. But so Gene Deal says, I remember being there. We were at the hotel with Kim. I thought he was talking about Little Kim. He's talking about Kim Porter, Puffy's first baby mama, and one of Keith Sweat's baby mamas. So this chick, Puffy literally walks in the room, forces her to do fellatio. She does it, and then Usher comes in the room not knowing and kisses her on the mouth. And he said, Puffy let you do that. That's him. And people don't understand, oh, that's disgusting. No, that's it is disgusting, yes, but that is power. That is, he knows that these people are beholden to him.
Stop right there. And fast forward to 2024, the Super Bowl. Usher is the performer. He's performing in what looks to be a fire pit. At one point, there are flames all around the stadium on LED displays. And everybody's like, oh, no, but he's performing on the Thoth tarot symbol. Oh, that's great. That's great. Mm-hmm. But in a press conference before, the day before, he goes through a humiliation ritual where he is wearing a dress. He's wearing a black skirt. You can call it a kilt. It doesn't matter. The motherfucker's not Scottish. All right. Never claimed to be Scottish. Any of that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Hold it.
Wait, stop. Wait. But here's the thing, though. He's wearing a dress, and he has a checkerboard hat, Masonic symbol checkerboard. The checkerboard represents the control grid, the chess game. And he's wearing this on his head. Now, you can call him Prince Hall Mason now. It doesn't matter. Because if he is Prince Hall, then he's truly Boule. Because this goes back to the founding of this country and the cementation of the House Negro control mechanism within this country.
You got to be vetted for everything. I remember when I saw I had sent you a copy, bro. I saw after the Super Bowl. Then look at he's wearing a dress. He's wearing a kilt. Yes, a kilt is garb of a certain thing. Yeah, we get that.
But that's not. But he's not of that culture. He's not of that culture. So don't say he's of that culture.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. That's not where I was going with it. I was going to point out. You see this shit. See. You see white dudes wear the same thing. You see all these brothers wearing dresses. That's why the dress conversation was so important, because you got to realize that is part of the humiliation ritual. But they do this and then they make a lot of money, blah, blah, blah. But what's really important for me, my biggest issue was the other pedophile that he encountered through his life, which is Jermaine Dupri. Why is Jermaine Dupri out there dancing when nigga can't dance? But then he's wearing a child garb. And everybody's like, what's Jermaine Dupri wearing? I'm like, he's literally wearing a outfit that a little kid would wear to church, like a little baby. And then and if you don't believe it, pay attention to the socks. Socks with laces, with ridges around them, or what a little kid wears. And that's what Cat was upset. He's like, look, you and Puffy are the two biggest pedophiles out there. And I'm like, God, dog, that's fucked up. But pay attention to what, and so when Roscoe is telling you this is a humiliation ritual, this is a ritual. These are ritualistic sacrifice things. These are things that are done in public, and the public is cheering, but they don't realize what they're cheering. And these gatekeepers are everywhere. And I think the biggest thing is that when you see, I'm gonna give an example. This is a terrible one, but look at Jeffrey Epstein and his island, where it's an island of pedophiles. Why is this such a big deal? Why is this pedophilia so rampant? Because it is about power. And these motherfuckers are taking advantage of you, and you think that you want success. This is the deal with the devil. This is when you sell your soul. This is what people are telling you. I got one for you that's gonna upset you, Roscoe. I was talking to a man at work that was older, and he knew Larry King, and he's like, Larry King, is whatever, but he said he wasn't at the top. He wasn't the most powerful. He's not. I'm like, motherfucker, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I get what you're trying to say, how they did scapegoat a black guy. He was a sacrifice. But I'm saying that motherfucker is still in VA right now with a honey baked ham, and he's still a millionaire, and he did his time, and he kept his mouth shut. So he took the fall for all these white Republicans, but he also fucked up kids along the way, fucked up our whole area. So when Roscoe is telling you that these guys are placed where they are, that they're like a canal, like they stop you from going through until I get something on you, until I fuck you in the ass or until somebody fucks you in the ass. And so I'm not saying every artist story is like that. And another thing that you got to understand, a lot of these rappers are Masons. All the East Coast motherfuckers are Masons. And so it's even worse because that means that they were already acclimated to the shit. So you got these kids who were taken advantage of, but then you got grown men who are like, yeah, man, I'm part of this. Yeah. I'm a Mason. I'm this. And I'm like, oh my God. So it's there. It's there in plain sight. And you might not realize what you're looking at. And you might not realize that this is a ritual, but that shit is not organic at all. The fact that when you see like a lot of these old stars that stopped early, like we always joke about like CeCe Peniston, and there was a couple other female stars that Tracy Spencer. Remember they were at the height. They could have went, and they just like, nah, I'm cool. And you wonder like, oh man, why would you do? Because they saw some shit they can't unsee. They were used, and like I said, Roscoe's telling y'all the truth about, and we don't even realize that we're playing into it. Roscoe's telling you the truth, where they make you have to check in when you get to a city, or you got to talk to this gang or talk to that gang, and the gangs don't even realize that you're doing the bidding of the white man. You've heard it, but you don't understand what it looks like. So you got, oh man, you can't come here, cuz. Nah, blood, you got to stay over here. I'm like, who are you working for? and again, Bill Cosby broke it down. He said, because back in the day, he said it was always about turf. It was always about where you sold your drugs and you did your crime, because you didn't do your crime outside of your turf. And then you hear this shit, it's like, God damn. And Bill Boulay too, that nigga's probably the worst, but he's telling you that you couldn't operate out of a certain area, and that was just an operation of control. And with a recent conversation I had with an older Mason, he said one of the biggest control is language, and we don't realize that using one of these what they call romance languages is just a way for the Vatican to control you. He laid some deep shit on me, but that's another conversation. What else did you want to bring up?
Well,
that's a deep conversation you've been having.
When you look at movies, there's always, I want you to look at movie posters. And I want you to look at the most recent movie posters going all the way back to the first time you began seeing black people in a movie poster. Now, I'm not talking about when there's a lot of black people or a predominantly black film, or there's just like one black male lead actor. like a Chadwick Boseman. I'm not talking about that, because then they'll just have that actor as the entire subject of the movie poster, the key art. They call that key art. But when you look at key art for television shows like The Walking Dead or any other type of TV show that has a black actor with an ensemble cast of other white actors, pay close attention to the placement of the black face in the composition with the other white faces. What you'll see is in a show that has two lead actors, it'd be a black woman and a white man. The black woman is positioned slightly lower in the frame than the white man is. Or if there's a image that has black women, white actors, and a black male, the black male will be a smaller character. He's in the background. The black woman is positioned bigger and above him, and then you see the white characters larger than those two black characters above them, even though the black actors have a prominent role in that feature. It's a very peculiar thing. And if you have any type of art training or graphic design training, you pay attention to composition. Or if you are good at photography or cinematography, you understand composition. And there's always rules for the composition. Rule of thirds, the golden mean. You're looking for ways to place things. Then if you overlay an ideology on top of that, what these key art movie posters, television show posters you see on IMDb or anywhere else you see movie posters for TV and television, you see the way that black people are still perceived in America, even in this stolen word woke culture that exists today. Have you noticed that? Have you seen what I'm talking about?
You see it all the time. I think the biggest example of that is when they talk about the actual map of the world, and they talk about how they show Africa as being this small continent, and then they show like one of the examples they gave was everything over the equator, like Newfoundland and Iceland are huge, and they said that shit is not even true. So when they show you a proportional map, you realize Africa is the biggest continent.
So I'm going to give you two examples. I was just on the IMDb webpage, and there's two new shows for Apple Television. And
which one?
There's one called Masters of the Air, and it's a World War II pilot story. And it has all these other actors. It has the African-American actors at the very bottom of the composition, and everybody else on top of them. And the black actors are smaller, and you got an even tinier black dude in the back. And then we got a Native American up top, and he's prominent, so we're being woke. Then you have a TV show, Apple TV, also next to it is called Criminal Record. And if you look at this composition, it has this white man who played Doctor Who once. His name is Peter Capaldi, and he is higher and more prominent than his co-star, who's a black woman named Kush Jumbo, who's on the right side, lower than him. And then at the bottom you have jail bars, and the show is called Criminal Record. That's another example of two brand new shows. You know, it's so fucking funny to me, man, when people go on and on about how, we're for inclusivity and we're for, diversity and all this bullshit. Really? Because your movie posters do not tell me that. When you look at The Walking Dead, which has about Rick and Michonne, this dreadlock beautiful black woman with juicy lips is with this goofy looking white dude. You know what I'm saying? And you look at this is the most ridiculous shit in the world. And you look at the poster. She's below him, and then he's at the top and he's bigger. And I'm like, hold up. But she's the straight up killer. She is the one that she got two katanas and she's just taking heads off. So she's really the alpha in the situation. He's the beta. And she's smaller in the frame. But they're not equals. They're not equals. But they're both supposed to be considered equals in the story. But they're not. And the show is about the two of them. So why is she smaller in the frame?
Because you got to put that black character in their place. And Oh my God! So one of the me, like I said, me and you had to talk off the air, and I said that nigga right there is doing that boule shit where we need to put that nigga in his place. And you hear it when you hear white folks saying it, but when you hear a black person say it, it always pushed me the wrong way. In terms
Hold
of
on,
what,
no. Go look at the Avengers posters. Go look at the Infinity War posters. Look and see where the Black Panther. Look at the Civil War, Captain America's Civil War poster is. And look how small Chadwick Boseman is in that poster compared to the other two. Now, I understand it's Captain America, whatever. But who fucking takes over that movie? Who steals your attention in this fucking movie?
yes, I can't think of
Black
what is
Panther. Black
yes,
Panther, you're like,
yeah.
hold up. This bad motherfucker shows up.
People fell in love with that nigga because of that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Listen, because of the cold shit he did, this motherfucker was like ripping with his claws, ripping motorcycle wheels off of motorcycles. You know what I'm saying? He was slicing up cars like Wolverine with his vibranium claws. And he was fucking giving Captain America what for? Like, nah, son. You know what I mean? And you're gonna give him this like reduced image on the movie poster? What are we talking about here? This guy blew the fuck up after that, and then you see him in the Infinity Wars poster, and he's tiny. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, is tiny on
Hey,
the Avengers Infinity Wars poster.
let me ask you a question. In the fight scenes in all those movies, one of my favorite parts, I don't know if it's yours or not, but when him and Captain America are in front of the Wakandan army and they're racing to the battle, and the motherfuckers run past everybody else, and I'm like, I live for that. Now, I love the final scene. Of course, we all love the final scene when they called everybody back. But before that, that was the best battle scene.
Hold up. Check this out. Then you have the Screen Actors Guild Awards, which came on February 24th. I got a screenshot of the key art for that. So it has all these different types of actors of different races, but it has Quinta Brunson from Abbott Elementary, which is a smash success. She is in the bottom center of this image, and I'm like, why? Everybody loves that fucking show. Celebrities love that fucking show. Why is she in the bottom part of the image? I don't understand what the fuck is going on there. You see what I'm saying? And there's more and more examples.
Pay attention to the character's placement in the actual film, but looking at the posters and the advertisements, they belittle the black folks all the time because they got to be in their place. But when you watch the movie, you are so excited to see them. They are the forefront. That's the shit. And then when they make a movie, hey, for the record, I'm gonna say this, y'all. I love the Black Panther character. Like when Roscoe just told you about Civil War, we've been waiting for Black Panther for fucking 30 years. In fact,
Which is a crime in itself.
Yeah. But like I said, I loved him in Civil War. The first Black Panther movie was cool. I liked it. I didn't love it. I liked it. But you got to understand, my expectations were so much higher than everybody else's. Because me and you've been talking about this shit since 91, 92, and we heard what John Singleton was supposed to do the movie. We heard what Spice was supposed to do the movie. So my love for that character was different in my expectations. I loved him in those movies, but in his own movie, he was cool. I love the black folks more than I love them. How do I say it? Than I love the movie. But with that being the case, even when you have a poster full of black folks, they still had what's the word I'm looking for? They still had a belittle him. Like, oh no, we don't need this nigga making too much money. and when that movie made $2 billion in the first week, what did they do? They ran to make sure they had other movies play off it. You understand? So because they didn't want that to be the top selling movie. Like Disney's like, oh shit, what did we do here? So and if
Dropped out. Hey, you dropped out. Hey, hey, say all that again. You just dropped out.
Okay, what I was saying is even that did not want black be that $10 first
Hey,
weekend.
repeat it again. You dropped out again.
Clearly, they're fucking with my nigga. What I was saying is, he did not want Black Panther to be that $2 billion first weekend movie. And what they did was, as soon as that happened, they couldn't wait they put another movie out right away to springboard off it. Because the narrative was a black movie of all black characters wouldn't sell. And what I was pegging to, there was a couple comedians that said the same joke. They're both black comedians, and they said the exact same joke. They said, "I think it's odd that Snow White is white people. I think it's odd that Disney has made a Chinese Mulan that used real people, and they use a Mexican movie that used. But when it came to the black movie, they used talking animals. When it came to Lion King and they had niggas, oh, they're all talking animals." And what he was saying is that they didn't want to take a chance on black characters because they swore it down black characters wouldn't do it. But Black Panther, the movie, shows that they were wrong. And for the record, so y'all, the way me and Roscoe be arguing, these are just deep conversations, and y'all got to understand that y'all need to hear this. People need to see this. People need to have an intelligent conversation without being offended. So you realize that how black folks have been played in media, how they've been played even in sports where they're at the forefront, but you still, for years, how long before we had black coaches? Because they don't want you to have that shine. Okay, well, they're just physical. No, we're all encompassing. But then that's what's so evil about these boule motherfuckers. That's what's so evil about these gatekeepers, that they stop us from getting to where we need to go, all because you want to be at masses' feet. That's what when he tells you about the black experience, when he's talking about you, when I say he, I'm talking about my brother Roscoe. When he's sitting here and saying that y'all motherfuckers are fucked up for what you do, that's because you are the motherfuckers stopping us from all being successful. You're picking and choosing who you want. When you sit there and let DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince get the first because they were soft rap, and you got motherfuckers that are lyrically better. Now hold it. Will Smith is better than people give him credit. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that in that black struggle, and that, like, see, if you play your cards right, and on the flip side, now everybody is the same. You have all these rappers saying the exact same shit, and they're all garbage and they're mumble rap, and they don't have lyrics. And oh man, it kills you when there's an MC that wants to make a comeback and they don't fuck with him. Why? Because he doesn't push the narrative. That's the shit we talking about.
Because he's being shadow banned.
And we know something about that, my nigga.
Shadow banning is nothing new. Shadow banning has been going on since slavery. People have been shadow banned literally since slavery. It's not nothing new. They just perfected shadow banning. It is racial shadow banning. That's really, if you really think about it, like, yeah, it's possible to racially shadow ban people. Matter of fact, look at the way that Malcolm X was perceived in the media. He was racially shadow banned. He was racially shadow banned by his own people, by the gatekeeper black people who wanted to go along to get along.
But that's why, remember when he sat there and when he put the Muslims on blast and said that they had made a deal with the Klan for safe passage in the South. Why would you not do that for everybody? You got niggas being lynched, but you made sure your people were okay because...
But this is the deal, though. You supposed to be the baddest motherfuckers in the U.S. Why are you making deals?
Yeah, why ain't you whooping ass? And so this goes back to those...
Because a white guy started the organization.
Yes. Yeah, and you talked about that shit. You're saying... I can't remember who it was, so please forgive me, but it was one of these situations where somebody had got hurt, like in Cali, and all the Muslims showed up, but he's like, yeah, we ready to fight. And they're like, no, don't fight. And when you see that, you kind of realize, like, oh, wait a minute, I thought y'all was militant. You know, and I see the same thing with these Hebrew Israelites. I want to make sure that you understand that when I see it, I got a dear friend of mine, and all his boys are these Hebrew Israelites. There was a situation where a white man did him wrong. So I'm telling you this, you'll understand this better than these other people around. My friend is diabetic, and he needed sugar. So they're at the bar, they're kicking it, they're shooting pool. So he runs across the street, he gets a donut because he's crashing. He passes out on the bar. And what did that white boy do? Because you know this, you worked in clubs. The white boy slams his hand on the damn table to wake him up. And my friend falls off the stool. Now, these guys who are with them are these Hebrew Israelites, and they should have been like, hey, nigga, white boy, cut this shit out, we kick your ass. No, they're like, hey, man, calm down. He's upset, so when he stands up, he's like, dude, I'm having a medical situation. Now, they co-signed on that part, But where was that vigor? Where was that, hey, motherfucker, white woman beat your ass? Like, I'm gonna tell you this: people don't know who they have. Who I got? I got this. My best friend is on here, Roscoe, and this motherfucker back in the day started a riot at his high school, all because of a white man said the wrong shit. So they don't make niggas like you no more.
Because he called us a bunch of niggas. That's why.
I'm not trying to tell you a story for you. And so they chased it. I remember my boy Los was like, we couldn't catch that white boy. He took off. But
because he was so close to the office, he was so close to the door. He shut the door, locked it as soon as he was like, he knew what he was doing. He was like 4 or 5 steps from the office. They was like, what did you say? And then boom, motherfuckers went right after him. I mean, a track star couldn't catch this motherfucker because his proximity to the office door was too close.
He made it. Look, but here's the point I'm making. So these motherfuckers talk shit about
white
people.
But here's the thing, though. There's a lot of smoke right now around that same high school, and how the founder, Harry Burke, is a real piece of shit institutional racist, and how they want them to change the name of the school. It's crazy because Abbott Elementary just had an episode about the same fucking thing. Yeah.
Look, and the point I'm making, why these gatekeepers are so bad, is that they love to talk that shit in private. Like, I'm gonna kill Whitey. Whitey this, Whitey that. But when it's time to shine, they're like, oh. And what they said to my friend, and they said, hey, nigga, it's not time for that yet. He's like, yeah, but if they attack one of you, I would be there for you.
Hey, but you know what their fucking their oath is? I am my brother's gatekeeper.
Gatekeeper or gatekeeper?
Pick one. Don't matter.
Because the gate that nobody's passing is my ass.
Yeah.
Look,
gatekeepers.
Look.
Yeah, it's a butt plug that says that shit.
Oh my God. And so, whenever you point it out to people, that's why you have people who are being logical and nobody wants to be logical. When they talk about the LGBT community, they make up less than 1% of society, but all of a sudden they have all these rights. And then what they do is they equate it to the struggle of the black man in this country. Because, we wouldn't want to not give this person this. And I'm like, y'all niggas won't give us reparations. Y'all won't give us. Look, I know this. I remember back in the day in the 80s, there were very few broke gay people. It's like, as soon as you turn gay, you got an $80,000 check and a credit score of 800. Nigga, what? So, but why do these minorities get what they need, but the real minorities don't? And so that's what we're trying to get y'all to see, is that we have fake wars and fake disagreements, and these motherfuckers are both being rewarded, and they supposedly don't like each other. They play you against each other. This is all a fucking shell game. And you need to understand that it's not by accident. And you need to understand that when you see these fucking rituals and fire, what do they need fire at the Super Bowl, my nigga? And here's an example. When Kevin Hart was doing one of his specials, and they had fire in the background, he's like, I don't know what the fire's for. Just look at it. I'm like, it's a ritual. Nigga, who's running around with tiki?
Which is why I was talking about Usher performing at the fucking Super Bowl with flames all around him. But yet everybody's like, no, it's just a visual effects design that we thought would spice up the performance. No, dog. I know what that shit is. And they're at every mass ritual that has an audience, captive audience, that is watching these things. Every time you have these mass rituals, it can be the Super Bowl, it can be the Oklahoma City bombing, it can be the first and second 9/11 attacks, you know what I mean? The World Trade Center attacks. It can be these mass shootings. Those will slow down. I wonder why those will slow down.
Hey, one of the funniest things I saw recently was a white man talking about all the Democrats. Was AOC, and then that Somalian lady, whatever the Arab lady, the Muslim lady, and then he talked about then he talked about Kamala Harris. And he kept showing these quotes of them talking about how bad white men were, and that white men are the ones doing the spree shootings, and the white men are doing this. He said, if white men are so unhealthy, why are you and Don Lemon marrying the motherfuckers? I'm like, Don Lemon. I'm like, he threw in Don Lemon too. He's like, y'all keep talking about how bad white men are. Why the fuck are you fucking them? And then you
Damn.
sit there like, they are all with white men. Even Don Lemon, the gay fucking guy from
But
CNN,
who's the shit that brought it up though?
just some white guy, just some white podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, if we're so bad, why y'all sleeping with us? Why y'all
No,
marrying
who
us?
was the woman that was saying it?
Oh no, it's a white man. It was not a woman. It was a white man that said it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, look, and he showed all these clips of these people, of all these women, and Don Lemon also. He slid Don Lemon at the end because he showed the white women first. He's like, if we're so bad, why do you keep marrying us? And then he slid in Don Lemon kissing a white man, like, yeah, look at this guy. He talks about y'all too. And so that, oh my God. So so if the white man is so bad, then why are y'all sleeping with the motherfucker? And I get Dr. Umar. I get your heart is with your heart. I get that, but I just think it's odd that these motherfuckers who say how bad they are the ones marrying them, and y'all couldn't find no nigga to marry. Y'all couldn't find no nigga to sleep with. Y'all couldn't find no black. And the problem with Kamala Harris, we know your history. You slept with the fucking governor or mayor of San
And
Francisco.
she is boule. And
Yeah,
her
for
boule
100.
connections were discovered
Oh,
when this whole Fannie Willis debacle melted down in fucking court. And how they were going to different police precincts throughout the Southeast, claiming that they're descendants of the Knights Templar and they have eminent domain and control of their precincts, and these policemen, these police officials that are coming to their precincts are telling them that we can commandeer this precinct whatever we want because we are descendants of Jacques de Molay and the Knights Templar. And that their boss at the time was the state attorney general, Kamala Harris, and they asked her if she knew about it. She didn't have a problem with it.
look, it's so crazy.
So if we got a boule vice president now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How about this? I brought this up on the podcast. Remember when she was supposed to lift up people out of prison, but she forced them to stay in prison to fight the forest fires in California? Their date had passed like a month or two ago. She's nothing but a gatekeeper.
Listen,
She's
Fannie Willis is also a gatekeeper. I don't agree with how they'd airing the dirty laundry on how, she had an affair with the guy that became the father of children. But that's all. There's no comparison between an affair and voter fraud. So then voter fraud is the whole reason why everybody is there. And they're deflecting from the voter fraud to an affair. That's a weak ass argument. But all it did was expose how fucking toxic Fannie Willis truly was with the whole No Child Left Behind situation, where she threw innocent elementary school teachers under the bus who resisted the No Child Left Behind, and she pinned it on them. And they went to jail, and not the junior high teachers and the high school teachers who were morally bankrupt and part of the problem. So it's this entire gatekeeper scenario that trickles down that makes Ronald Reagan smile in his reptilian grave.
Look, we bring these things up because they do this in plain sight, and people act like, oh, it's just this, it's just that, it's just a coincidence. Or not everybody's getting fucked in the ass. Maybe not everybody is, but enough people getting fucked in the ass by these people that then they start fucking the whole society in the ass. How about that? These rituals are sickening, and I'm tired of people. I don't know. Wake up, and I don't want to use the term woke, but you need to pay fucking attention. And
no, you need to be conscious.
Say what, bro?
They need to be conscious, not woke. Because woke is a black term that was stolen from white people. Think about it. Black people purposely use bad grammar. So if white people are using bad grammar, it's because they're copying the shit from black slang. Are you awake? I'm woke. Not I am awake. Proper grammar is I am awake. I am awakened if it's past tense. But they're not using that. It's a black term. You know what I'm saying? which is crazy because black people are using it before John Jones. But y'all think it's John Jones that got white folks to using it. Because he would use hashtag woke, all throughout his little Twitter posts, like right around the last Cormier fight. He would start using this woke term and shit. And he got it from other black people on black Twitter. But white people stole the shit, and they always take something that's black and just run it into the ground, and black people don't even say it no more. The crazy part, black people stopped using that word a long time ago when it became lame as fuck.
You knew I was going. We stopped using. It's literally 10 years ago we stopped using that term. When motherfuckers were doing a pretend jazz thing and poets, and that's why I used to hate whenever niggas would do poetry, because you would always have these motherfuckers like, he's so deep, and I'm like. So one time in college, I kind of got up there and wrote a poem just joking, and they was like, "Man, god damn, you're good." And I'm like, that was a joke, but it was good. But that really was me showing that there's not a real talent, and this nigga ain't shit because I can do what he does. Me and Roscoe be killing these niggas on accident. Like, we don't even give them our good shit when it comes to performing or our actual writings and so like the shit I would give people, like I would piss people off when I would talk about that girl. Like, look. I'm like, nigga, you marrying a bitch I used to date. Now, clearly she wasn't marriage material, but you bragging about it. And she's making you feel good. I taught the bitch how to fuck.
All right, so let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up. So, look, man, the Negro experiment in America started with Uncle Tom House Negroes, creating an institution that will continue to this very day and is still manifesting in the visage of the vice president and people like Fannie Willis. Okay, and the music industry, and Gay J, and Suge Knight, and all the rest of these people who claim they Bloods and Crips, gangs that were commissioned by the prison industrial complex. So, look, that's all I got. We out. Peace.
Yo, holla back.